Hey everyone, I'm SaturnDave,
I'm TraynoCo, and welcome to the SEGA Lounge.
the SEGA Lounge.
Hello and welcome to the SEGA Lounge. This is episode 256, and we've got a very special one for you today. I'm KC, I'm your host. This is the podcast that's all about Sega, and today it's all about the SEGA Saturn. And I'm not alone, as per usual. I have two very special guests joining me. No, not here. I have two very special guests joining me. That was like a little bit of a spoiler there for what we're talking about. We have the wonderful people from SEGA Saturn, SHIRO. Hello. Hello.
How's it going?
So we have.
Hello. I don't want to say welcome. Sorry, I'm just running my own show, so I'm welcome.
No,
It's like, why am I saying welcome?
I
This ain't
feel
my show.
welcomed. I feel welcome to
Yeah.
the
Okay,
SEGA Lounge. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcomed on the SEGA Lounge.
Yes, thank you very much. I do feel welcome. I appreciate that. So, for my right, I believe, yeah, we have SaturnDave. Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Going great.
There's a little delay here, so I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa.
it's like a little bit. It's like
Yeah,
mind
wax
tricking it.
on, wax off.
Exciting.
But I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate you inviting us on. And I've caught the SEGA Lounge over a few times here and there over the years, but it's nice to finally be on. So yeah.
Well overdue appearance on the SEGA Lounge, I would say. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And we also have TraynoCo. Hi.
How's it going? No, it's great to be on. I remember. I think either you're lead-in or you were a lead-in when we were on we're on the radio Sega. I think so. I remember it was like right after before, but I'm really glad to finally be on the podcast.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, really nice to meet you guys and to talk about Saturn and SEGA Saturn SHIRO. This is our way of sort of celebrating the Saturn's 30th anniversary in the US, which was at the time of recording a few days ago. And as at the time of people listening to this, mostly the first week of the show, it's like last week. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, I'm sure. A lot about the Saturn. But first of all, and that's like sort of tradition when people come on the show, for the first time at least, I want to learn more about you guys. I want to learn about how you got into gaming. And because you're so Saturn specific in what you do, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the Saturn part of things. But first of all, let's start with you, Dave. How did you get into gaming? What's your gaming story?
Okay. I actually put up my gaming story as like a monologue because it's pretty long, but it starts somewhere around I want to say it, so it started with the Atari 2600. We had one in the closet and it was not being used because this was like post crash and it was just kind of like, relegated to the closet in a box. And we tried, I tested it out and that's kind of like how I got interested in video games. But really, my video game journey started in the arcade for the most part, with games like, I don't know, Space Harrier, and Afterburner and Outrun and stuff like that. It's a lot of Sega stuff. Of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mortal Kombat, The Simpsons, that stuff too. And just arcades everywhere because I grew up in a town where you had them at the bowling alley, you had them at the movie theater, you had them at the 7-Eleven, when you went to get salon. Some candy, you get your nail salon. You even had them at when you went to the laundromat to wash your clothes. So you had arcades and arcade cabinets everywhere growing up. So I really fell in love with video games through arcades, and eventually we brought the arcade home with a Sega Genesis. My actually older sister got a Sega Genesis, and Sonic the Hedgehog just moving fast as lightning on our CRT. It was like the coolest thing I ever saw. It definitely lived up to the experience of the arcade, just the speed and the color and everything like that game specifically. So yeah, I don't have any kind of like niche kind of hidden gem titles to plug as my first. It was really just Sonic, and just the Genesis itself was this jet black, like hi-fi looking, very, very expensive piece of equipment. But again, like everybody was pretty much able to afford it. And you got Sonic as a pack-in. And so it was great. we got that, and so I was a big Sonic fan, big Sega fan, but kind of turned into a Nintendo fan for the while there with the Super Nintendo, because it's like every kid in school wanted a Super Nintendo, wanted the Super Mario World, Super Mario
your
Kart.
time's over. Sorry, you're cutting off. You're
Let's
cutting
move
off.
on to the real gamers, Dave.
You're like, wait, it's cutting out. I can't hear you.
Spoilers. I think the Super Nintendo is better than Genesis.
I didn't hear a thing of what you just said.
I didn't hear that. But no, Super Nintendo was great. Game Boy was great, but like really, when the fifth generation came around, that was like that's always going to be my favorite time in game history, just because of how crazy that was. As just a generation where almost anything happened. Sega came in, they stole the market away, or at least they stole the dominance away from Nintendo, and created just an open kind of power vacuum. Basically, you had new players like 3DO coming in, and you had Sony throwing their hat in the ring, and it was just a really exciting time for gaming. And yeah, so I went with Saturn. I don't want to get like way into it, but that's how I got to Saturn.
Okay. Yeah.
What about you, Pat? I want to pass it off to Pat.
Sure, Pat. Yeah.
Alrighty. So I'm a little bit younger than Dave. I grew up. I was sort of a more of a '90s kid or whatever. I guess I don't know if that. But anyways, I was born '92, and around '96, my parents' friend were like, "Hey, we're getting rid of a bunch of the stuff that my kids don't use anymore. We have this pretty famous Sega console from the '90s, and we are wondering if you want to give it to your kid son, because I know he's like 4 years old. He probably would enjoy it." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So they handed him a Sega Pico with Richard Scarry in Busy Town. I am not joking. Hand to God, this is a true story. My first console of all time was a Sega Pico.
That famous Sega console, yes, sure.
The famous one from the '90s that everyone knows.
Sure.
And then years later, I remember there was a year later that said, "Oh yeah, we're also getting another console that my kid didn't want to play, another handheld. We'll give it to you." And they gave me a Game Gear with VR Troopers on it. So I literally can't tell people. Every time I tell you this story, I have to tell them I am not making this up. My first console was the Sega Pico, and my first handheld was the damn Game Gear. So great.
By the way,
Sega kid through.
I think VR Troopers was better than Power Rangers. I'm that kid.
Honestly, as a show or the game?
I like Gears a lot better.
As a show.
Oh, I don't know.
The game, honestly, I thought the game was better than the Power. No, actually, no, that's a lie. I think the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game is a little bit better, but the VR Troopers fighting game for the Genesis for the Game Gear is also really pretty sick. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I did enjoy VR Troopers. I don't know if I enjoyed it more than Power Rangers, to be honest. I was very big into Power Rangers growing up, to be honest. But I think like the colors were appealing, maybe a little bit more. Like VR Troopers were like a little bit more.
I mean, Power Rangers was awesome. Power Rangers was awesome. It was just, VR Troopers was kind of like
you're
more. Yeah, it was
more cyberpunk.
I mean, I chose the Saturn over the PlayStation, right? So I always kind of went for the underdog.
Yeah.
I think you and I are like same thing. VR Troopers I liked a lot better than Power Rangers.
But I'm really jealous, Pat, because the Pico. By the way, do you know about the Pico?
Is that the Pokemon one?
No, the newest version of the Pico, the Sega Pico.
Huh,
haven't heard about it? Oh, you should actually.
Is this a recent thing?
It's a recent thing. It's I think like from last year or 2 years ago. The Sega Pico. It's like a new educational console.
I still want to get a regular Pico. I told Pat, I was
it's like
expense that to SHIRO.
It's a little bit like it's more of like a Wii kind of thing, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Which with like something like this.
And is it Sega?
It is Sega.
Holy crap! That actually looks really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
That oh my gosh, that is actually really cool.
Yeah, the Pico. So it's got like motion controls and stuff, like more of like a Wii. And like apparently it's all the rage with the kids. Because why not?
Yeah,
Pico's back, baby.
Actually, it looks like there is a Pikachu one. Or wait, is this the old one?
That's
It looks
the old
new.
Pico. That's the one from 03,
Oh, that's the old
think.
Pico. Okay, dude, I want that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Jesse,
don't
did you
know.
have Jesse and your new kid
My
play?
kids
Your other
aren't.
kid
My
play it?
kids aren't. Well, my little one is probably young enough to appreciate it, but
If
yeah,
it's
no.
if
Get her on
I
that
think he
Pico
needs
train.
to know Japanese though. I believe.
Thing is,
Fair
I
enough.
never played a Pico growing up. So like Pat described what it was like, and I was like, oh, so you're playing like physically on the drawing pad, but you're also playing on your TV screen, like via composite or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that.
It's
I was like,
really
seriously,
it's really
I got to get
technologically
one of those.
advanced back then.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's
really,
rad.
it is. It's very simple but really cool. And you flip the pages to go to the next level. It was really cool.
But what'd you get after that, Pat? You went from
wait,
like the Pico.
Wait, Dave. I have a suggestion. Can we change this into
Yeah.
like the Pico appreciation
Pico
show or
Sega
something?
Shiro.
Why
Yeah,
not? You know?
yeah.
Pico show. Pico
Is there
show.
is there a Pico show somewhere or a Pico community somewhere?
No,
I
but
wish
I'm already
there
in the
was.
copyright.
If you're watching or listening to this, if you're part of a Sega Pico community, get in touch, please. Podcast at thesegalounge.com. I want to hear from you. I want to know all about the Pico.
Tell us all about it.
All about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah,
yeah, but we
besides the Pico
hijacked Pat's story. So sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
fine.
Pat. So
like
please go
I said,
ahead.
It's kind of hard to believe,
hijacked it.
anyways. Hijack, but no. Besides, after that, I got an N64 and then a Dreamcast. I actually didn't get into Saturn until like 2020, like 2005, I believe is when I got into it. I like found a store. I was like, wait, what is this? Like, oh yeah, it's a console between the Dreamcast and the Genesis. I'm like, there's a console between the Dreamcast and the Genesis because they're so badly marketed here in the United States. So it's like I didn't know about it. Like I knew about the Dreamcast. My parents got it for me, and it probably is one of my favorite consoles of all time, next to like the GameCube and oh man, it's hard, and probably the Saturn. Just Saturn's up there, top 3.
Okay. Okay. Good. Nice. I know you guys are big Dreamcast fans as well, right? I think you guys went on the Dreamcast junkyard like last year or so. I remember listening to that episode or more. Yeah, probably. I remember that as well.
It's really hard to choose between between the Mega Drive, I'll call it, considering our company. Yeah,
no,
so
but
between the Mega Drive,
for the audience,
the Saturn,
probably the Genesis is more like most people who listen to this are from the US. So yeah, probably.
Hey, but Biggie Smalls called it the Genesis, so who am I to argue with the notorious B.I.G.?
They're all beautiful consoles, and they all have great games. And it's like, but I mean, Saturn for me every day, all day. But I mean, they're so close. Is all I can say. Yeah.
I'm on the same page with Dave. They're just so good for different reasons. Like that's what I love about the consoles. It's like you can get a taste of everything, and if you're getting bored of the Dreamcast, go to the Saturn, and vice versa, and it'll quench those thirsts that you need to hit.
Yeah, and all 3 of them are online. I've got them right here within arm's reach, and my Genesis is online. My
that's nice.
Saturn, yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move towards the Saturn phase of your lives. And let's go back to you, Dave. So how did you get into the Saturn? Did you get it at launch? How did it happen?
Yeah, it's really kind of sad and embarrassing that I totally bought the PlayStation hype. We walked in to an electronics boutique. It was not EB Games yet. It wasn't GameStop. It was Electronics Boutique in the mall. Walked in there, and there was this new 32-bit system. It was this flat gray slab, the PlayStation. I thought the name PlayStation was so stupid. Like I thought, and it's so funny, like in hindsight, now it's like the most normal thing, like Kleenex or tissue. But I mean, back then I thought PlayStation is such a dumb name to name a game console. And
X.
And it was also so different than anything I'd seen that it kind of, made fun of the way it looked. But when I played Jet Moto on that demo disc, I was like, wow, this is rad, And then of course the store clerk was like pretty persuasive. So we like went home and boxed up my Super Nintendo and several games. Totally not worth it. to bring it back and get the PlayStation in one game, you know? And it was so it was like, I mean, now in hindsight, I was just like, I ended up getting my Super Nintendo back and several of the games that I had, but like, I can't believe I was such a dumb kid that I was willing to like, I couldn't see the value in it. I was just like, 32-bit, let's go, you know, out with the old. And so we got a PlayStation. Played the hell out of the PlayStation, but my dad is he's a musician. He plays drums professionally, and he would go on the road a lot, and he'd be in hotels and need something to, you know, entertain himself in the hotels. So he'd take the PlayStation, and I was okay with it. You know, he asked, and he was like, "Can I take it?" But I'm going to be away for like a week, so I wouldn't have anything to play except we had my sister's Genesis. You know, so I would play more Genesis, and that was okay. But I needed something of my own, you know, because my dad kept taking the PlayStation on the road. It would be gone for a week or 2 weeks while he was like across the country. And I just decided to start saving up my money and get an N64. I wanted a Nintendo 64 because everybody's all about the Nintendo 64. And I wanted Mario 64 because it's like kids would line up for a mile, you know, to play the kiosk in the mall. You know, I couldn't even get on it. But as I'm standing in line of the kiosk for Mario 64, Christmas of 96, so right around the turn of 96, 97, I'm just standing in this line waiting to play Mario 64. A lot of folks have heard this story by now. And, you know, I'm a captive audience, so I'm just standing there in line waiting for my turn. And to the right of me, behind the glass on this tiny little CRT, totally made to like not attract anybody's attention. You know, they've got this other console playing Nights into Dreams. It was basically the little jester flying around in the Mystic Forest Zone. And I was just so captivated and mesmerized by that. And just that I'd never seen anything like that. And that game, I don't know, it was just perfect for me. Like it just spoke to me. I like kind of grim, dark things. I like things that are kind of, I don't know, surreal. Nights is very surreal. You know, I like things like Twin Peaks. Sure. I like David Lynch films. You know, I like stuff that's weird and bizarre and artistic.
Actually, I don't know if you watched
it.
You
know, I mean, sure, I love mainstream stuff that everybody likes, but I definitely like things that are artistic and things that are kind of
off the beaten path, you know, like almost avant-garde-esque, right?
Yeah.
And Nights was so avant-garde. It was so off the beaten path. It had a mystique to it. And when I put 2 and 2 together and realized that the Saturn was also the console that played Daytona USA, which was my favorite game in the arcade, it was a no-brainer. I was just like, oh my God, I got to get the Saturn. Then I found out that it actually wasn't doing too well and that I could afford to buy a used one for like $80. It was like, okay, that's it. Forget the N64. I'm just going to save up my money and get a Saturn and Nights, you know? So that's what started it all.
That's
that's
a killer deal.
I was not a day one Saturn fan. I was a, you know, New Year's 97, you know, Christmas 96, New Year's 97 was when I, yeah, my brother and I saved up and we went over to the game store and we bought just a Sega Saturn in a shopping bag. You know, that's it. Nice. It was just a couple controllers, composite cables, a copy of what was our first Daytona USA, and then we ended up having to save up and get Nights with the 3D control pad, which was another expense. But yeah, that's it. I digress, but the rest is history.
That's nice though. Yeah, I thought you were saying I was waiting in line and someone shady, like, you know, like, kid, come here, like, open his jacket and do you want to see what the future looks like or something?
You know, everybody tried to steer me away from the Saturn. Every single thing you could buy. It's a miracle that I even.
Too, he was like, you don't really want this.
Yeah, the marketing didn't tell me about it. The store clerks certainly didn't. And when I tried to ask them about it, they would basically just brush it aside and say, don't worry about that. The PlayStation is what you want, or N64, you know? And I don't think they were getting kickbacks or anything. I just think they didn't make as much money to sell them, you know? So they just kind of focused on selling what they probably would make a lot of money on.
Yeah. So get incentives for selling that. So yeah.
If I hadn't been trapped in that line waiting for Mario 64, I wouldn't even have seen Nights, you know, and I probably could have just gone on my merry way and never would have known.
SHIRO.
I'd have been an N64 kid. Yeah.
Which, you know, thanks, Nintendo.
I love the N64. I have one right down there too. So, you know, I love the 5th generation consoles. I really do.
Awesome. That's great. What about you, Pat? What led you to the Saturn in 2005? Was it?
Yeah, basically, I walked into a store that's probably long gone. I think it's like called is it Play and Trade? I think is what it was called. There was like a chain here in the United States, and it's like long shuttered. But I walked in, and they had like something called a Saturn. I'm like, what the heck's a Saturn? And he explained to me, oh yeah, it was between the Dreamcast and the Genesis. I'm like, there was something between that because, like, I was in like I did, for context, I grew up in like New Jersey, where it's like the biggest area for marketing for gaming. So if you knew about the console, you'd hear about it. Like, I mean, I even knew about the TurboGrafx 16 back then, but it's like I didn't know anything about like this Saturn. So it just shows how badly Sega marketed.
Mhm.
But long story short, there's another place I played I played Virtual On all the time at this like small thing in Arizona called Amazing Jake's, or like a I guess like a Chuck E. Cheese except a little bit bigger, maybe like twice its size. And I always played Virtual On there in like 2005 or six. And then I remember like going in the shops like, oh wait, they have Virtual On for the Saturn. So I was like, heck yeah, I want to play that at home. So I picked it up and bought it, and that really what got me into it is Virtual On, which is still today one of my favorite games. I can proudly say I'm probably the second best at it in the SHIRO Discord behind Rasputin. I
Yeah,
cannot beat, but
that guy's
I'll
insane.
take I'll take second, third. I'll take second, third best. You know, I'll take that. That's I can live with that. That's not that bad. But
But with the
yeah,
twin
I
stick,
love the game. Huh?
yeah, with the twin sticks, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Got the twin sticks and stuff. So that really what made me fall in love with it. And just like years later, just going learning about through like different content creators and just the import games I found on the shelves like these stores. So very very good. I love it. I love the Saturn. I fell in love with it, like just like the Dreamcast all over again, which still I loved like since '99. I was day probably like one or something like that, like probably like a
Mhm.
couple days, couple months after like a December. But I was there for the Dreamcast, but the Saturn I wasn't. But it felt just like that day one of the Dreamcast all over again. So great console, and I'm still learning more things about it even to this day. Like there's still crazy stuff I know like didn't know about like printers, different games for it, peripherals. Like we even learned about like a dating app that was for the Saturn too, which is new for me.
Right.
I mean that on top of that, that we have a housing simulator where you go and look at houses, and now they have a dating sim. I'm not joking. Like this is
Oh,
like a dating
I
app.
get, I totally
Oh
buy
yeah,
it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the weird
it's
things that come
incredible.
out of Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
that
yeah,
makes
no,
sense.
and that's why I love it. Still, I'm still learning more about it and all the crazy games I've never heard of that I
Hmm.
want to play. So
Mhm.
Excellent,
yeah,
excellent. That's great. That's great. So
And I think Pat.
yeah. Sorry,
Oh, go
Dave.
ahead.
No, no, no. Please.
Well, I was gonna say I think Pat has grown to love the Saturn even more through Shiro, because I
pretty
know like
much.
Dreamcast was his first love, kind of, that's always been. He's like, that's the console you can bury me with.
Oh yeah,
But
that's in my
the
will. I
Saturn,
have in my will that I want to be buried with it or cremated with it. So
but Saturn is work too. It's like that's what we live, eat and breathe, sleep Saturn, all the time. It's we have to stay knowledgeable about it, and we end up just finding out more about it just through covering it via Shiro
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And so yeah, you do gain like a deeper, like a different kind of appreciation for it.
Yeah.
So but yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah, sure. So I've told this story countless times, but I missed that entire generation back in the day. So I
Mm,
was a Mega Drive over here kid, obviously.
yeah.
And I really wanted a Saturn, but for several reasons, including financial ones, I wasn't able to get one. And so I completely skipped that generation and I got back into gaming with the Dreamcast. So the Saturn is sort of a blind spot for me still.
Mhm.
I've played several games. I'm trying to get more into the Saturn scene, which is very cool, I have to say. And places like you guys, like Shiro, help us know more about the system. But I'm always very interested to talk to people who swear by it and say it's an amazing console. Because on paper, it really looks like it. But and it in Portugal, as you guys know, we actually talked about this, Dave, before we started recording. Not just because of Dragon Ball Z, but the Saturn was big
Right.
because Sega was big in Portugal. Sega
Sega
was
was
the
big.
big thing. I think Sega and Dragon Ball Z were the major like pop culture references for kids in Portugal growing up in the 90s. So
every country I know, it's always Dragon Ball. Like Japan, Germany, everyone in South America. Like it's amazing how that thing culture. Sorry, that's kind of a tangent, but still, it's just amazing how culturally how barrier crossing that show is. It's nuts. Like it's literally everyone's starter anime in every country. You know how crazy that is? That's like incredibly nuts.
Yeah,
how that could even be possible.
I remember. Yeah, like I remember the Dragon Ball days, the original Dragon Ball days, when it was on. Like kids would rush home from school just to watch an episode. I remember recording. I was away for a week or two or something, and I set my VCR to record every day at that time. The episodes, it went really badly. That didn't work at all, but I got a few of them, and I was really happy to watch them. So people were really insane about Dragon Ball. And then Sega was the other big thing. So what even was Nintendo at the time here for us? In terms of marketing, they were pretty much non-existent. I had maybe one or two friends that had a Nintendo console, but everyone else that we talked to was crazy. Like Sega.
Yeah.
Totally Sega. It's like the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like a parallel what's that universe? Like an alternate universe.
Alternate universe. Yeah. An alternate dimension.
Everyone had Nintendo.
Yeah, the Sega-verse, it was the thing here. But then what happened was what happened everywhere, and the PlayStation took over at some point. But for the first couple of years maybe of the Saturn life, it was the thing here in Portugal. So I was really upset at the time that I wasn't able to get one. But then things happened, and I went with the Dreamcast eventually and came back to Sega through that. But I really do appreciate the people that are knowledgeable about the Saturn, which is not my case, and who create content for about the system, which is something that we'll probably talk a little bit more about, like the amount of like homebrew content, fan games. The fan scene is big here, so we'll talk about that. But I want to know more about the creation of SHIRO first. So how did that happen? Why? Because it's not like a small feat to just create a whole community and a whole like several shows, podcasts, YouTube channel, all of that.
Time.
I know.
I
know, but it had to start somewhere.
You think you have no audience, and all of a sudden it's 7 years later and you have a community. But I actually like the way Dave tells it better, like how he first interacted. I'll let Dave tell it because he tells it better than I do.
Again, it goes back to the Facebook groups. Like, I don't know how far you want to go back, but I think in
2015, America.
So in 2015, I was like thinking about, like, I had been thinking for years about, what if, I collected for Saturn again? But every time I look on eBay, it was like so discouraging, And I mean, now it's like, this is 10 years later, so it's ridiculous. But in 2015,
$500 for Panzer Dragoon Saga, Dave.
You were looking at in 2015, you were looking at a lot of like $5 and $10 games that were instead like $40 and $50. So that was still a hard pill to swallow. But for some reason, for whatever reason, I just decided to, jump in and start going for it. And, in the midst of that, I joined Facebook groups like about collecting for Saturn and stuff like that. And Pat was on there, and I was, we were toying around with the idea of like doing a hypothetical cover for like a reissue or repro cover for the, Police Knots, there was like this canceled long box of Police Knots, and there was a mock-up that existed. And so we were kind of chatting really about quality. It. Pat, and I do Photoshop, I do graphic design kind of as a living, or at least a side hustle kind of thing. And so, I put together this thing and sent it to Pat, and he was like, that's awesome. And we just got to chatting, and I don't know, we had this conversation that lasted like several hours one night, just because we had a lot in common. We both like Sega. both like a lot of the same music. Pat has impeccable music taste, by the way. Probably the best of
Dave's
anybody I know.
impeccable music taste.
Very, very eclectic, but very good. Like, all killer, no filler. And then, so
I think there's
we
like
hit it
one
off.
band we disagree on. I think that's like so crazy.
Maybe.
Like out of everything we agree on, like we have like hundreds of bands we have the same, but I think there's like one or two we just don't vibe. We vibe differently for. I just can't remember what they were.
Yeah, I don't know at the moment. But Pat, so Pat reached out to me. I think it was he texted me one day out of the blue. How would you feel about starting a podcast talking about Sega Saturn? And at that time, I was just dying to share stories, dying to talk about, and I was using the Facebook groups as kind of like an outlet, shooting video or whatever. And it was at a time where I couldn't get anybody else to do it. Like I was like, does anybody have a cell phone? Point it at yourself and talk about, your memories of Sega Saturn, or share this kind of stuff, and nobody wanted to. And I realized not everybody's outgoing or as extroverted as I am. So I totally get that. But Pat reached out to me and I was like, hell yeah, I do. that would be great, because we've got all these stories and it's like, I kind of want to get them down on some kind of archival media. So we teamed up and we had another guy, Kay Kona, Murder of Crows, who partnered with us for quite a while. And we just started banging out podcasts, put together like a little website, for the podcast. It wasn't anything big. And we kind of did, like the listicle style thing where we would just go through like 10 or 15 games. It's pretty typical. It was very dense, content wise, less story focused, but more like, really dense information for people who wanted to get into Saturn. Here's everything you need to know about Neo Geo on the Sega Saturn, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was really really fun. Like I said, it was a lot of like bad recording equipment and bad quality in the beginning of it, but I think we ran with the punches. We upgraded our equipment over time, and it became pretty killer. Like I really enjoy the podcast that we put together. We eventually brought more people on. We had Peter and Ben, and we just kept rolling. And we're here where we are now. It's almost 10 years, right, Dave? It's like 8 years ago that we started. We're
coming up on 8 years or something like that. Yeah, and Pat's right. Like we added a lot of people along the way, and they've just been some of the most amazing people. Like Nick Pandemonium, who reviews every US Sega Saturn game. He has a YouTube channel, and he does some amazing They started out as mini documentaries, but now they're just full blown documentaries.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Dan Thrax, who is just the most amazing writer, editor, and game hacker. He's done projects on games like with the Bulk Slash project and like the Stellar Assault SS. Yeah. So helped out working on those. And then he had such a passion for Saturn that he just kind of got involved and kept contributing to the point where he's literally like a big part of the lifeblood of SHIRO right now. If it wasn't for Dan, we couldn't do anything, and you say he's writing articles for the website, and he's on the SHIRO show on Fridays and stuff. And it was a gradual thing, where he kind of just moved into the role, and he's done an amazing job. And so it's been the effort of many people that have kind of helped lift it up and make it what it is. And we've got folks in our community who help run the tournaments. We have game tournaments every month, and we've got like Double Dime and Gregory Rasputin doing those, and online tournaments on the NetLink stuff. So
there's just amazing.
So much
Yeah, awesome.
Sorry,
awesome.
I know I'm digressing.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can't listen to you guys talking about this for days.
Yeah, and it's just like we just dipped our finger in so much stuff, like the magazine where we worked on.
Right.
Didn't you got that out? We got the web pages and stuff like that. It's really a whole media. It evolved from a podcast to a whole media and community thing. I don't even know what to call us anymore. I say, people ask me what SHIRO is, and I don't really know. I guess a media company, empire. I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah,
I think first and foremost, though, in spirit, it's the community, because like that's the most important thing to us. I will say, like we've had a lot of successes here and there, but the biggest success has just been building the community and having people, join the Discord and be a part of community conversation. Yeah.
We'd have, I mean, literally the bulk slash and stellar assault would have not happened if, like, this does sound like a fault, but if we didn't have a place to like tell people to go to like look into it, that people wanted to volunteer, we wouldn't have the bulk slash or the stellar assault fan translation. Like, the team was made based off people that were part of our Discord, and like I said,
it's
and
like a chicken
I'm not
egg.
trying to take credit for it.
Well, but that's amazing. Like, a place for people to get together, like-minded people to get together, and like it's also a place where new projects come about, and people have an idea. They find others who can join and get more resources and stuff. So that's amazing. That's a very cool result.
Speaking of resources, scroll to the top, if you will. Scroll all the way to the top, and then click resources under resources, or hover over resources, and then you can see all the community projects that are going on. Right? If you click like translations, for example, you can see here, and this is managed by one of the guys, Private Eye, who works with like Cafe Alpha on like the SEGA Saturn stuff. You can see all of the translations that have happened over the years, and this is really only going back, I don't know, like 2016, 17. Like, there's been so many game translations that have happened. Some in progress releases, some like
two that are releases 2 weeks back to back too.
Yeah, and it's just insane. And that's just the translations. There are so many other projects going on. I think that, like Pat said, it's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario where I don't really know which comes first, but it seems like by building the website, by building the media group, we basically created a platform that we could use to signal boost the cool stuff that people are doing in the community. Because that's really the cool stuff, we're like town criers. We're just saying, like, check this out. This is really cool, and then
we're trying to showcase it and just play it, because I think one of the big things that there's a lot of retro game things. Like, a lot of people, when they think of it, think of like the game collectors or the reseller guys, or the guys showing off the top 10 gem games or something. And it's like, what I like about SHIRO is that we're none of those. We're just like showing off cool projects, and I don't know. I kind of think of it like the Howard Stern show almost, where we have people hop on, people in the community that add to the show. I mean, Howard Stern minus the Howard Stern part of it, but like just like have a live show and have people contribute to that, and which I think I like about that, because there's like well-known people that drop in the chat, like fan favorites that have grown with us, or just
anybody listening to it as like a podcast after that is probably like, who is this? Wait, who? They got to get into the community and become a part of it to kind of get some of the inside jokes, because we're very informal with the SHIRO show. The SHIRO show is just live, unedited, uncut, just off the hip, and we're just pretty much reacting to each other, and it's a lot of fun. But again, like I said, it was something that we started during the pandemic, just as kind of like a what if, let's just do a live show. And I think it's just insane that we've only missed, right, Pat? We've only missed like 3 shows in that
3 or
time.
4. Maybe it's less than 10 though. I know that it's mostly holidays or something happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's
right.
Like, I think if it falls on a holiday, we do not do it. Like, as like, no, we need a break. But even then, like, I'll do something for like Black Friday. I'll do something. I'll do a whole stream on Black Friday where I just find deals. We'll just do some fun stuff, because like, I don't know, the biggest inspiration for why I wanted to do the podcast, or actually twofold, was do you know a group of people called Mega 64?
Yeah.
I love their podcast. It's probably one of the best comedy podcasts on the internet. Like, Barstool is nothing on there. They inspired me a lot with a lot of their antics, a lot of their like the way that they do podcasting, and very off the cuff, and some really weird and random ways to do it. Like, they film at a fair, or film at a Chili's or something. I kind of like that, shoot from the hip and like have a friend dynamic where you feel like you're in that friend group. I kind of wanted to bring the SHIRO, and then I mixed that with the Dreamcast Junkyard guys, because that's a big reason I want to start a podcast. That I was too embarrassed to ask the Dreamcast Junkyard if I could be on their podcast. So I was like, maybe if we come on this podcast, we can ask them to be on that.
Awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're great as well.
That's what my approach is to it. I know Dave is. They brought a lot to it as well on top of it, especially the SHIRO show, which is his brainchild, was the SHIRO show, which is probably one of the best ideas I've ever seen, and he pushes the limits with it. It's nuts.
I've been super busy lately too, to be honest, and Pat and Dan have been carrying that Like really, you guys have carried the torch with the SHIRO show and kept it going. And I've been able to be on here and there, but I'm so busy on Fridays these days that it's hard for me to make it. But I'm just so impressed, and I love the fact that they've been able to keep it going. And that's the thing, is our strength is always been in, you know, like an all hands on deck, like everybody helping out kind of thing, you know. And that's why I say we're a community. It's not like any one of us are rock stars or anything like that, and it's not like we have a ton of subscribers on our YouTube channel either.
It makes sense, because for people who create any sort of content, they should know that it takes a lot of time and resources and energy. So if you have a community behind you and other people you can rely on, that certainly helps. It makes sense that sometimes, and I speak from experience, I'm the only one doing this show, and it's sometimes I lack the energy. I had to take breaks every now and then throughout these 11 years, and I feel like the fact that you guys have like a whole community behind you, like people and other people you can rely on. Oh, I don't feel like doing this today, so maybe you can take over and do it yourself and stuff like that. That's fun. That's nice. You can just keep going and have others to rely on. So that's cool. And I going back to what you guys said about this being a way to like signal boost whatever people are doing in the community. That's what I think it's from the stuff that I watched or read on your website. It's what I feel like it's the most significant part of your work, right? It's really cool to have one place. If you're wanting to learn more about the Saturn scene, you can go to the SHIRO website and just like look around, get news, get updates on stuff that you're maybe watching, like you're attentively like looking forward to something that's coming out soon, like a fan project or something, and there's an update, you know it's going to be on SHIRO, so that's nice.
Right.
Exactly. Or like if you just want to see what's there, like, oh, I want to see the fan translations, what's out there, you can hit that little section and see all of them, where it's see what can I play for the Saturn right now.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty comprehensive in that regards.
Yeah. And I used to think, like, I used to kind of wonder, like, is this worth reporting about some random thing? You know, is this worth reporting about? Do people want to know about this? And, you know, it's funny, recently, like I went back on the Wayback Machine and I was looking at Saturn World, which is a really old site that was run by the IGN folks, like before it was IGN, you know, they had like kind of separate sites for, and they had the Saturn World. It was written by at least one person who really loved the Saturn, you know, and a team of people. And, you know, they wouldn't miss any chance to report even like some hearsay. It'll be like, we have a hint about the Virtua Fighter 3 coming to Saturn or something like that. You know, like you look at the articles that they would write, and some were just a paragraph, but it was just like, somebody heard that this might be true, you know? And I'm like, okay, so, you know, I almost want to archive all that stuff on our site too. But it just goes to show, like, people have been doing this for a long time, you know, and if there's somebody out there that's going to be interested, you know, so I'm just glad that we're putting it on the web, and then it'll be hopefully searchable and it'll be archived, you know? And so like these projects that folks are doing, you can go back and you can kind of see, like Dan writes about the Mister updates, and you can really see, if you're researching it years from now, kind of like the timeline that the Saturn core came about, you know, and all of the ways that it was improved and stuff like that. And who knows, somebody might care. Somebody might end up doing a research project and they'll need this information.
For sure. And I think we are all more, I mean, some people always had like the historian side of to them. They wanted to archive stuff, and so. But I think as more of like a mainstream feel, we're all more in tune to the need of archiving stuff online, and like knowing about the history of communities as well, of consoles, of video games. We actually just did an episode a couple of weeks ago, like with a news roundup from last month, and we discussed that. Something that is now unclear. It seems like some Japanese companies like Sega, Capcom, Taito are working on a project to archive their their history and their games and stuff. Now there's rumors that maybe that's not really the case. That was just for an expo or something. Whatever is the case, it is important to be sure that your history is safe and accessible.
Incredibly so.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially if we're moving more into the digital media and games being digital only, almost. I feel like that's very, very important. And I feel like people, gamers in general, at least more old school gamers, are appreciative of what people do to archive, to document, to have stuff accessible that they can research, they can look back. I think it's interesting. So
Yeah, because it's history now. I mean, it was just a pastime. It was just something we were all having fun with. But now it's
just
like it's full blown history. You know?
Exactly.
And
I mean, the
important.
things that you look at this, I think they did a study saying that I think over 50% of game like stuff is lost, and like if that was in the film era, that'd be a crisis. Like for lost films, that'd be like a detriment. Like there's more lost media in video games than there are for like all the film industry, the silent films combined, which is kind of insane to think about. Like the game history is not well preserved, and there's very few companies that are preserving it, and the companies that are preserving it have to like skirt certain laws as well on top of like the regular Joes. Like technically, if you want to preserve a game, you're breaking the law. So I think that's, at least in the United States, that's what the biggest issue is that a lot of companies don't have a great way to preserve it. Like I guess, there's stuff like Nintendo eShops and Oz eShops where we've seen before they shut these eShops down, and there's not like an archive where it's like you'll always be able to get these games. It's like you have to resort to piracy one way or another. Like, I mean, even like a lot of the Rock Band stuff, like for that is gonzo now. It's just a shame. Like, there's not really a good way to legally do that, and I don't think we'll ever have that.
And this is a
It's technically
multi-billion
legal, but
dollar industry, so it doesn't really make sense that there are no like official efforts to preserve.
It's a culture thing. It's like an educational awareness thing, but it's a storage issue at the end of the day. And I think we can relate as content creators. Like you create a bunch of videos, you edit a bunch of stuff, you have all this footage cut and all the images that you pull together and stuff, and you're looking at the space on your hard drive and wondering like, can I let this go? Will I need it? It's like the roll of the dice.
True.
Like
I look at it like how many more 10 terabyte how many terabyte hard drives can I fit in my PC? Is my look at it.
But like go back to the fifth gen console generation. I mean, like memory was expensive, storage space was expensive, and and hard drives were not big. So these companies did find themselves in a dilemma where they're just like, well, the game is out and that's the product. We shipped the product, so we don't need all the ephemera anymore. We don't need all the source code or the drawings or the little documentary, I don't know, whatever footage was shot in the office of the workers and stuff like that.
And even they probably didn't think about like you said, what you did with your was it the Super Nintendo, right? That you sold everything to get a new system. That's what we used to do back in the day. So they also probably thought, okay, so 10 years from now, people will probably trade in their current system for whatever new stuff comes after. So
whatever, you trade it up,
people will not be playing this game 20 years on or 30 years on. So why do we need to preserve it, right? So I
think that's a big thing and interesting with the media is that compared to like stuff with film and stuff, a lot of people feel that gaming is a disposable medium, which I think a lot of people, my friends, think, where it's like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. Or like they see shutdowns like, oh, who cares? It's like, bro, whatever, because like a lot of people are just consumers, which isn't like an insult, but like they just want to play the next big thing, and when they're done with that and gets put on the shelf or thrown away or took to GameStop or sold online, it's just the way it is.
For sure.
Yeah. What really kills me is the thought, like if you've ever seen some of this E3 footage from 96 or 97, and you've got like the most elaborate Sega booths, like an entire show floor of Sega, the huge illuminated light, the nights that's like rigged from the ceiling, Nights into Dreams with like the big orange rings and just I'm just like, that probably went into the dumpster behind E3, or something, like, because who took it, right? Who took it? At that time, you're talking about like Suits, who were just like, yeah, no, I don't, it's too big for my kid's room, And I think that probably ended up in the trash, and it just makes me die inside when I think about that, because I'm like, I want all of that.
That's why I took these things.
I mean, they had bespoke.
These things just go right in the dumpster.
Oh,
yeah, the
right there. These standees.
You got your Star Wars standee.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling that out. Yeah, but like these.
You're not pulling that out. That's life size.
Yeah, basically, I have a giant like life size soccer standee in my closet.
They even had there it is. They even had bespoke Nights into Dreams kiosks with the CRTs in them, stuff like that. If it's coming up here quick in this footage, or it's coming up soon, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Courtesy of SEGA Saturn SHIRO. Yep.
All of this stuff, is just insane.
Yeah,
well, it's honestly, we there it is. Look at that thing. That's thing
amazing. That's amazing.
If that was on there you go. Look at those kiosks right there. All that stuff went in the trash, and I'm like, it kills me inside, because I would kill for that in my garage. But yeah, so anyway, that's a lot of that stuff. They just were. It was just waste. It was like. It's
just promo,
and I get it, right? There are like environmental concerns as well with producing stuff like this nowadays. There are like financial concerns as well. But it's if you were able to go to like a museum or some sort of thing,
I hope that went right into the garbage. That's fine,
Mr. Bones,
right in the garbage. I don't feel bad at all.
That's he's got a bone to pick with that.
Yeah. No pun intended, or maybe.
Very much intended.
But, okay. But imagine being able to go into like a sort of Sega, not just even a Sega museum, but a video game museum, and like having a E3 of the past, not of the past.
Right.
It really is a past thing now, unfortunately. But it's an E3 section of the museum, and you just could like look at stuff, select stuff from Sega booths, Nintendo booths, Sony booths.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
I mean, just have people be able to like play stuff on a CRT and experience what it was like. What it was actually like. You end up so many times, just trying to describe what it was like rather than allowing people to actually see. And we set up a pair of 3D glasses with the Master System in the SEGA Lounge. We'll talk about that more at PRG.
And I mean, not so legally affiliated with the SEGA Lounge.
Not to be confused with the SEGA Lounge.
Not to be confused with the SEGA Lounge. Yeah,
the SEGA Lounge.
I think we tried to capture that. Speaking of that, it's funny. That's what we tried to capture with that lounge too. Is we had the giant banners all across the the wall. You can probably see it in our PRGE 2023 video.
All the SEGA
all across the wall. We had standees from Soccer Wars all over the place. We had the Virtua Fighter standee. We had like the CRTs, the glasses to keep Sega alive. Like there's just like not a lot of like, and I think that's the closest we'll ever get to something like that. But I do agree. I really wish they had a museum where it's like they had the promo stuff. It feels like you're walking into E3, like, because I've done E3 before, and like the euphoria that you do at E3 and Gamescom, it's amazing. Like seeing these giant standees of games you'd never expect them to have standees for, or like see these giant posters, or see like the banners, the CRTs. It's like it's breathtaking. You really, it's like a once in a lifetime thing to experience that, and it's just. I really wish there's a way for people that have not been able to see that live to go see and see right there. We have the banners, we have the arcade machines, and I really think that I do agree with you. I really wish there was a way that we could get that, because, like, see, we had that's probably the ultimate table right there. Had the Pluto, we had the Sony PlayStation there before, and then the General Jaguar unit. It's like just nutso.
I mean, there's like I remember back in 2014, 15 maybe, there was like a sort of a video game museum that was going across the world. It came to Portugal as well, and they showed off mostly consoles and games,
right?
Which is important. It's the meat of the history of video games. But all this promotional material, this is history as well. So it would be nice to have.
I have to shout I gotta shout the Video Game History Museum because they were actually next door to us. And Frank Cifaldi and his team. You got Kelsey and you got gosh, I'm trying to think of the
I
other
think Kelsey
names
stepped
involved.
down
But
recently.
oh, okay. But I mean, he's got several folks working with him. But you know, they did put on a really nice little museum next door to us, and they did have quite a bit of awesome ephemera. You know, some Sega stuff. You know, related to like the light gun. There was an entire exhibit about, you know, violence in the U.S. and how they had to, you know, make the Justifier like blue. You know, and yeah, it was cool. They did a really good job with that. So there are people out there that are trying really hard to save all the ephemera and all of the documentation and stuff like that for the sake of history, you know. And we're doing the best we can to try to create a vibe and let people experience what Sega was all about, because the theme of this past year's room was really just Sega's innovation. You know, they just innovated so much. It's incredible that relatively short time that they were a hardware manufacturer, they just innovated so much during that time. And I would say that they struck out with a lot of it, but they kind of like laid the groundwork for a lot of other folks that would go on and be successful with these ideas, you know, Nintendo primarily.
Yeah, for sure. Things that are now.
The panel we did on that year, we covered a lot of it, like the 3D glasses, the simulators, the online stuff. It's just nuts, and
like dual screen in a way as well, right? Like a second screne with the VMU, for example. So yeah,
I mean, beaming video over the air, you know, with that what was it? Telegenesis, or not the Telegenesis, I forget what it's called, but it was like a little satellite dish thing. It was totally like an FCC violation. But you know, there was stuff like that, and there was you know, they had a pair for the Saturn. They had a pair of augmented reality glasses that would do like full motion head tracking. But with the Saturn's, you know, processing power, I just don't think that it ever connected. It just didn't click, you know.
That's
they were trying.
They were ahead of their time. They just didn't have the right resources at the time, right? So
yeah. Ironically, you had the 3D glasses that started out as like these sleek pair of, you know, Kid Chameleon glasses, and then you kind of worked your way up to like the Mega Visor in the arcades, which was like this huge thing that you wear on your head and you look like a complete dork. But that's what it took back then to make something like that happen. And now Apple's got like their Vision Pro and everything, and it's all,
you can look even like a bigger dork nowadays. We're just making you look even like a bigger and bigger dork,
because now you're walking down the street with like doing things with your hands, right?
I actually never seen a single person with that like in public. So I think honestly, I'm calling it now. I think that's the Sega Vision, the Apple Vision thing's going to be a flop. Just a guess there.
You think?
Okay.
I've never seen a single person, even the Apple fanboys, are not fanboy enough to get behind the Apple visor.
Outside, at least. Yeah.
Sorry, we got into the weeds, but
no, it's cool. It's cool. I have no idea, but I think it's time we take a quick break from the conversation, because you've never been on the show before, and you're guests.
Okay.
And that means there's something that I haven't done in a long time, since last year, which is the SEGA Lounge Challenge. And you're like, it's late. Why do you do this to us? Because it's like challenge. I had to get up early to record this chat with you guys. So this is my way of punishing you for the time.
Okay. Joke's on you, I'm a night owl.
Damn. So every time we have interviewees on the show, we have the SEGA Lounge Challenge. What is the SEGA Lounge Challenge? It can be anything I want, but it's usually for Sega fans. It's something I like to call the Ultimate Sega Fan Challenge. This time, it's the Ultimate Saturn Fan Challenge. I have a feeling it's not going to be that hard for you guys, as like Sega Saturn historians, as experts in the ways of the Saturn. This consists of 10 rounds, and it's trivia, music, and back of the box, which I'll explain later. Okay,
I like this. This is fun.
10 rounds, they're each worth 2 points. So can we get 10 points?
Let's see.
Can we get a perfect score? Maybe.
Are we on the same team or are we fighting each other?
It's up to you.
right.
I
We
prefer
can-
violence, but you know you.
Oh, you prefer? Okay.
Choosing
No,
violence
you
is the way,
can
my
team
friend.
up. You can team up if
It's
you
the
want to.
Slaneshi way.
Okay, there we go. But I
Let's
think
see.
it's probably
Okay.
easier to team up and maybe use each other's strengths, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So, are you ready for the Sega round? The Sega
Yeah,
Lounge
if it's
challenge.
anything Naomi related, it's going to be over my head.
It's going to
But
be
that'll have it.
Saturn only. And I think
Okay.
these are
Oh,
very
Saturn, okay.
easy questions. Maybe
Okay, all
Sega
right.
related
My
only.
imposter syndrome was going off there for a second. Let's go.
Okay, so round one is a question. Ready? No choices, so you have to come up with an answer. I think this is easy. What is the name of the crime syndicate you have to take down in the original Virtual Cop?
Oh God.
That's what I say when I say it's easy. It's easy. Air quotes.
Yeah. Nick would know this because he did a
Nick
whole
would
video
know
on
it.
it.
He did a video on it. I'm
The
guessing
crime
it's not the
syndicate.
AMS.
No. Yeah. No. I'm gonna lose my Saturn card for this. I like I
We just
like
shoot the
Virtual
guns
Cop
at the
quite
screen,
a bit.
people.
but-
We shoot the guns at the screen and here listen to the
I'm
awesome
not
sound.
that
That's the game.
I'm not that hardcore. Let's see here.
What would you
Yeah, I'm
call
gonna have
an evil crime syndicate?
Evil.
They're really bad people.
It's something like that. Is it an acronym?
Yeah, it's
on
like
the
an
tip of my
acronym evil,
tongue.
isn't it? Right? EVIL or whatever. It's
Yeah,
some-
well, it's something like that. But vile or something like no, it's something like that, but I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't.
So
Yeah.
what would be the answer? Your best possible answer.
I like the vile one. I'm gonna go with the vile
I
one. What
think
about you,
that's
Dave?
Carmen San Diego. Honestly, I think I just heard that from my kid's cartoon. Yeah, no, darn it.
The kids watch Carmen San
yeah,
Diego?
sure. Well, my kids watch Carmen San Diego. Well, the new one,
Right?
The new one, right?
I'm gonna
There's
go-
a new one.
there's a new
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, I think
There's
so.
a new
Yeah,
one.
I saw
There's a
that.
new
I think there's
version.
going to be a new
San
game as
Diego.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I have no
yeah,
idea.
so
I'm
we'll go with vile. I
Vile?
think that's wrong. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. What is it?
Your answer is surprisingly incorrect.
Incorrect.
Yes. It's
Figured.
evil, like
Evil.
EVL Inc.
Oh, Evil Inc.
Oh,
EVL,
Yeah.
Evil Inc. So I did say
Yeah.
the evil syndicate.
You
And
did.
you
did, yeah.
you were around that area, but no. Okay,
you
no
should have went with
points.
evil, Dave.
No points.
No points.
But there's
This
still
is how
time.
it's going to be.
There's still time.
This might be really embarrassing. Okay, go.
Okay, so round two is a song. It's a 10-second long clip of a Saturn song. They're all Saturn. It's all Saturn related. Maybe for one of the questions, Sega adjacent, Saturn adjacent. But okay, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So, song number one or round two. Ready? Take a
Ready.
listen. Tell me if you know the game and where it plays. Okay.
So it's definitely Clockwork Night.
Yeah,
Does
definitely
it
Croc.
play?
That sound font is Clockwork Night.
But I mean,
I don't
does
know
it play in the
exactly where it's
bedroom?
at.
I think it's in the bedroom. That I don't know for sure. I think it's in the kid's bedroom.
Yep.
I'll go with that.
Dave's. I'm gonna go Dave's. I only know is that sound font sounds like Clockwork Night. So
That sounds fun, right? It's all jumpy.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I'll give you the points for the game, so don't worry about where it plays. I'll give you the points for the game.
Where does it play?
It's the title screen
Oh, is it?
of
Okay.
Clockwork Night.
Right.
Yeah, but
Huh,
that means
Okay.
2 points. Well done.
Okay.
Very good. Well done. This one was easier then. That's nice. Okay. Number 3 is a question again. Okay, ready? Are you big fighting fans?
I kind of am.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat's more of a fighter.
Fighters Mega Mix?
Oh, that's Dan.
Sure.
That's Dan's
Okay, but
department.
maybe it's not that hard. Which Virtua
Maybe.
Fighter Kids characters, so Virtua Fighter Kids characters, are unlockable in Fighters Mega Mix?
I think
Right,
it's
okay.
I think it's both Akira and Sarah. I think
Yeah.
they're both. That's my best guess. It's Akira and Sarah. I know Akira is 100%. Sarah, I'm fairly confident, and I
maybe
think
Jeffrey.
that's maybe. I can't remember if Jeffrey is. I know that Akira and Sarah more than likely are, but
Yeah.
I can't remember if Jeffrey was.
I'm gonna give you a hint. It's not really a hint, but it's a little help. Just two characters.
Okay, yeah, it's probably Akira and
Well, let's
Sarah.
go with
is my
Akira and
best
Sarah.
guesses.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. Although I'm gonna admit that I'm guessing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Akira and Sarah.
Yep.
Final answer.
Final answer.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There we go.
You're so bad. you know who would know this stuff? I swear. The Sega guys, James and Dan.
Yep.
They know all of this stuff.
They're probably
They know all of
screaming
this,
at the screen right now at us. It's like,
probably,
how'd you got
they probably
no?
want to kill us.
How'd you not
They're
know?
not real Sega fans. But seriously, Dan, they know a lot of this, really, Dan, he could tell you some of the most nuanced stuff about a game. It's crazy, and James too. Yeah.
Shout out to the Sega guys. Yeah.
Shout out
Definitely,
to you guys.
we love
Love
those
those.
guys.
Yeah. Great guys.
They are our
Okay.
bros.
Yeah. So 4 points. Not bad at all. Round number 4. It's another song. Okay. Let me know if you know what game it is, and if you can, where it plays in the game as well.
Okay.
Lovely.
It's Japanese.
Yeah.
It could be a Japanese Sega game. The only thing I can think of is that it's like a Japanese version of a game that we did the English title for. That does sound familiar, though.
It sounds familiar. I'm not familiar with this exact track, but because of the female vocal, I'm guessing here. Last Bronx. I don't know. I'm thinking it might be Last Bronx.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Last Bronx.
People are probably shouting at me.
If I had to guess, that sounds like a credits for like Last Bronx, something like that.
It sounds like it's a credits
game.
track, but it's not one that's immediately coming to me. So I'm just gonna
Unless
guess.
it's some obscure Japanese. It has to be something that got released in Japanese that was by Sega that they either redid or they didn't. So probably something like that. It's probably gonna be something like, oh, it's like the Japanese version of something from Burning Rangers or something like that. But if I had to guess, probably Last Bronx. If I had to take a wild guess, and probably like the end credit song.
You both went straight to Last Bronx there. Interesting.
I did. It's just a guess. Yeah.
That's the only one I can think of that they would probably do that in for Japanese.
Okay.
So if they didn't English release, so that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. So, final answer? Last Bronx?
I guess so. Yeah.
You don't sound too sure of yourself.
I'm not.
Oh, we definitely aren't. We definitely aren't. But that's the only game I can think of that probably would still have that in
We
English
have a music pop quiz. We have like
Sega.
a Saturn music pop quiz in our Discord chat, and there are people probably ripping their hair out right now. They're like, why? That's it. Final answer. Go ahead.
Final answer. So your answer is incorrect. It's Dragon Force.
Oh,
really?
God.
It's the ending theme of Dragon Force. The Future, it's called, I think.
Did they keep it?
Peter-
Did they keep it in the
Peter
English
would've known
version
that.
too?
Well, sorry?
Did they put in the English version too, or was it just the Japanese version?
I actually, you were talking about like, oh, this looks like sounds like a Japanese game, and I was thinking, is there an English version of this track or not. I can try to check, but I have
Because
no
yeah,
Here's
idea.
it's
I don't
it's
think
by
so.
working design, so it would surprise me if they did like
I
an
know
English
why
thing
I
like
don't
they
know
do
this.
for
I know why I
Magic
don't
Night.
know this because I've only beaten Dragon Force once, and it wasn't easy either. Our buddy Chaz, who did like a full like walkthrough of it, he kind of helped get me past the barrier to entry with that game, and I really did fall in love with that game. I think it's an absolutely amazing game, but I only beat it once, and I don't remember.
I don't
'Cause I
think
never.
there's an English version of that track though. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah,
Great game though. Great game, folks should definitely check out Dragon Force.
We'll
A
play
lot of
Dragon
it
There's a
is
big following
yeah.
for that game. Yeah, it's like a cult
It's one of
following.
those.
I
It's
would
one
say.
of those games that everybody says is so great, and a lot of folks agree. A lot of folks are like, but all the menus and then like the walking on the map and stuff like that, it doesn't. But once it clicks for you, once it all clicks and you get the battle strategies and everything like that, it becomes incredibly addictive. And it's the kind of game that you can play 15 minutes before work, and shut it off and go to work, and then play like 15 minutes when you come home. You can play the game kind of in small increments, So it's a really good adulting game.
So
I gotta say.
Dragon Force Mobile when? It's what you're asking then.
That's what I'm
I'd
asking
be all
too.
about it. Yeah, no,
Dragon
it's
Force
an
and
incredible
and
game.
have Dragon Force do the music for it.
And
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
the second game had an English translation as well, so there's a patch available for that, so folks can
So
play
you play
it in
both
English.
of them, but
It's
people
a
argue
little
this
darker.
first one's better.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Advance Wars versus like the sequel, which was a little darker, something like that.
Yeah.
But
the
some
second one
folks
feels
like
more like Ogre Battle.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry.
So no points for that, unfortunately.
I'm not surprised. Surprised that I don't know that though. Yeah, okay.
Okay. So it's time. We're halfway through this. It's time for what I like to call back of the box, which is exactly that. So I went to the back of a box of a game, of a Saturn game. And what I'm going to read to you in a very poetic way is the description or part of the description of that game. And it's the US version as well. Okay.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Right. I love this.
When you go to when you check the differences between regions, they're very, very different sometimes. Like the things they highlight. This one, I think it's this one. Yeah, this one. The European version tells you nothing about what the game is. I don't know why. I think it's this one. But no, but the US version, I think, is fairly easy to understand. So ready for the back of the box?
Okay.
Okay. The evil redacted has been resurrected for the third time. He is a threat to peace in the land. Now it is time for you to engage in combat to win the redacted, which will make your wildest dreams come true. 10 characters from which to choose, each with their own weapons, attacks, and special moves. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. The evil redacted has been resurrected for the third time. Oh my God. He's a threat to peace in the land. Now it is time for you to engage in combat to win the redacted, which will make your wildest dreams come true. 10 characters from which to choose, each with their own weapons, attacks, and special moves.
Special moves. So it's a fighter.
It's a fighter and special and weapons. The only thing I can think of that people have weapons in a fighting game probably was some like Last Bronx is the one I can think of.
Well, wait a second. No. Last Bronx was like a gang. The Red or something like that. So let's think about this. So there's an evil that's been
resurrected for the third time.
Redacted, and it's been resurrected for the third time. That has me thinking Capcom wouldn't write something that stupid, right? I mean, like I was thinking
that sounds like Capcom to me.
Oh wait, okay, so wait a second. This is a US long box, so it's a US game. We only got like
third time, 10 characters.
It's been resurrected for the third time as well. I don't know if that's relevant or not.
It's not like Street Fighter or anything. It's going to be something like more. It's going to be
And it's
something
like
more.
weapons and stuff. Wait, would that be
evil
Mortal Kombat 3? Because
no.
wasn't Shao Kahn and they fight to get the wildest dreams like you'd fight for a competition. So if it's ranked for the third time, that sounds like Mortal Kombat 3. Everyone has a special weapon, 10 characters.
Special weapon, 10 characters.
Or
So
weapons.
10 characters from which to choose, each with their
Yeah,
own
but
weapons, attacks,
Why call
and
it the
special
evil
moves.
redacted? Why not say like Shao Kahn or?
No. Redacted was
Evil.
I redacted
Oh.
it. Oh, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
evil.
So I
sorry, I'm
redacted
sorry.
parts of this because if I
guess,
no, sorry.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't explain that part. So
Oh, blank, just
I
say blank
redacted
or
it.
something.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I was like.
It would probably
The evil's
give
name is
too much
redacted.
away if I read everything.
Sure,
So
sure.
I redacted
Can you
some,
read it one more
some
time?
words.
Can you
Yeah.
read it one more
So
time?
the evil redacted has been
Right, okay.
resurrected for the third time. He is a threat to peace in the land. Now it is time for you
Right.
to engage in combat to win the redacted, which will make your
Okay.
wildest dreams come true. And then
Win
10
the
characters.
tournament. Yeah. Okay.
The only thing I think is Mortal Kombat.
Doesn't say
MK3.
anything about fatalities or anything like that. I was thinking maybe it was like Golden Axe the Duel or something like that, but
It might be Golden Axe the Duel. That might
but
be
because it's the third time, resurrected the third time, right? That's where you've got me thinking, okay, Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate.
That's the only thing I can think of is Mortal Kombat 3. It's either that or Golden Axe.
What other game has evil redacted that has been resurrected 3 times? Or wait, for a third time. That would mean that it was dead. It's been dead 3 times.
The math is complicated here. So if you've been resurrected 3 times, it means you died.
Can you tell that we don't know what this is? And it's a US.
I'm gonna be like, of course, when he says it, I'm like, yeah, that's what it was.
I could just look at my game
The only thing I
shelf.
think is Mortal Kombat 3.
Let's do that because we don't know what the hell we're
So-
talking about.
you were onto
Don't you,
something there with the number of times and stuff. So
The number of times.
yeah, third time. So that means
What about if it's Fatal Fury 3? What about Fatal Fury
But
3? There's also an option, but
evil?
I don't think people had weapons.
Third time. I'm looking over at my game shelf because I've got
The
all
only
these
thing I think
games
is
over there.
Fatal Fury 3 is also, but Fatal Fury 3 didn't come out in the US, I don't think so. None of them came in the
Right.
US,
So
it
we
can't
have
be
to
Fatal
we
Fury.
have to focus on games that
Yeah.
got a US release.
Okay, so guys, I need an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably just gonna go Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah. It sounds like you were trying to steer us away from it, but I'm gonna go with Mortal Kombat 3 because
You should always
know.
go with your gut. That's what I tell
Okay.
people playing the game.
okay,
Okay,
that's it.
so that's it. Final answer.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Yeah. Play the little disappointing
Yeah.
jingle.
You want me
It's gonna
to?
be something.
You want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It was Golden Axe the Duel.
God! God damn.
That's what I said. Why I said you were onto something with the number of times. So yeah. So third time. So
Wait,
Golden
what do
Axe.
you mean?
Golden Axe. He dies.
Golden Axe.
Resurrected for
Okay.
Golden Axe 2. Resurrected for
Okay.
Golden Axe 3. And now Golden Axe the Duel.
Oh.
Right. So 3 times. I think it is. I think it
God.
makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
we were
It
close.
sounded-
We had Golden Axe 3 on the menu. It was between MK3 and Golden Axe, though.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't
very
put that
close.
together.
Very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 4 points still, and we have half the questions to go. So let's move through these.
Nice.
Number
Okay.
6 is a song. Oh, this is. I
Okay.
think this is easy. Let's take a listen.
Okay. My favorite.
Definitely
Yeah.
Nights in the Dreams, 1,000%.
That's Shundi's theme from Virtua Fighter 2, and I think it's called God Mountain or something like that. I forget what the track is called.
They're teasing
But,
us
yeah.
with that Nights crescendo.
Yes,
It has
So
like
what's
a
Night?
yes, yes. It's
What's
Mountain Hermit.
Mountain Hermit. Okay.
Yeah, Shundi. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Best character.
I've maybe it was like Hermit of God Mountain or something like that. I thought
Could be as well. Could be as well. Yeah. Could be as well. Like depending on the translation, perhaps.
The Drunken Master.
Yeah.
Shindy.
All right, Dave. I had to turn my Virtua Fighter jacket.
The best style of like fighting style. Yeah. Drunken Kung Fu or whatever it is. Yeah. Sure.
Definitely like one of the best attract modes from the arcade cab.
Okay, so 2 points. That's 6. Okay, we need 4 more. So let's move on to question 7. More. 7 is a question. Okay.
Do people usually ace these things?
No, they don't. They don't. Okay. Don't feel bad. No. You're actually crushing this compared to most people. Okay. So, question 7. In Manex TT Superbike, you can replace all the bikes with a specific animal by pressing a combination of buttons on your controller. What animal is it?
Oh, good. I thought you were going to ask the combination of buttons.
I thought about that.
It's a motor sheep. It's a motorized. Is it a ewe? Is it a ram? I don't know. It's very fluffy. And I think that's one of the best features of the game. You can ride a motorized sheep around the tracks. That game would have probably could have used a couple extra tracks, but then again, the Isle of Man is only so big.
Yeah, exactly. So at least you got the sheep. So yeah. Good job. Well done. That is the correct answer.
You can also ride a horse in Daytona.
Yes.
And you can ride. What was the other thing? There's one other animal that you can ride. I think where you can like be a dog on a little snowboard in steep slope sliders.
Oh, really?
Like a little Shiba Inu.
Didn't know that one.
Yeah, and I think there's also a penguin on his belly, something like that.
Oh, that's a good one for a future SEGA Lounge challenge.
Game.
Yeah, I may be missing another one. There might be another like animal that you can ride in another game.
That's something that I miss about old games, like retro games, right? We had these like very cool, very weird sometimes, like secret characters and stuff or cheat codes.
Top Skater, you could like if you flip the board a certain way and press the buttons, you'd get like the big surfboard, like the big longboard, stuff like that. Yeah, they don't really do that anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so that's number 7. So 8 points. Let's see if the remaining 3 rounds are easy for you. Round 8 is our last song. Okay, so let's take a listen.
That's awesome. That sounds like
another Virtua Fighter song.
No, definitely not. To me, it sounds like it sounds like a kind of like maybe like an RPG, like a strategy RPG or something like that, where you're just kind of like on the map. I don't know. Can you play it again?
Sure. Let's take a listen.
I definitely don't know it, but it rocked. It's like really driving, but not like fast. Like it's almost like it's almost like a character select screen on a fighter or like
it's probably a fighting game soundtrack. If I had to, it sounds.
I really don't know, but I want to know
because it definitely sounds like it. It's not at all.
The Saturn sound chip is so great, and you have stuff like this, and I'd listen to that in my car.
Sure.
God, but it reminds me, Pat. It reminds me a lot of like that card game. The almost like chess like RPG.
The Tusk.
Yeah, but obviously that didn't get an English release. So I'm like thinking to things that did get an English release, like maybe
it might be virtual on. It sounds like it could be that.
Do you want to say that? Let's go with your guess. I don't know what it is.
I never said the game got an English release, by the way.
You never
I'm
said
not-
it got an English.
I
release?
never. No, I was talking about the back of the box stuff. Those were the English
Oh.
versions, the US versions.
Yeah, I
So this
figured
could be
everything was
just like,
fair
But
use.
I'm not
any
saying
game.
this is not an English release. This didn't get an English. I'm not giving away anything. So I'm not want to. I
No,
don't want
that's
to
fine, that's
mislead
fine.
you. So, but I'm just saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's between something like virtual on or maybe like something like Radiant Silver Gun or something. Or not Radiant Silver Gun, like something like a shmup. Maybe like
Well, it is.
maybe like Battle Greg or something like that.
It could also be like Mystaria, like Blazing Heroes, because that game.
It does sound like that. I'm trying to think. I
I know,
honestly
like
don't
Blue
know.
Moon would know this. We've got some folks in our chat who would totally kill on all of these because they've just dug up every Saturn soundtrack known to man.
But we probably should go with
Gosh,
one.
you want to?
So choose one.
What do you? Are we allowed? Are we have to team up on this, or we've been teamed up this far? So
I mean, we
you
need
go
all the
ahead.
help we can get, Dave. So
What do you
You
think?
go ahead. I'll let you choose, Pat.
if I had to guess one, I'm gonna try virtual on, but it's probably gonna be wrong. It's
Virtual
either
on?
shmup or virtual on. That's all I can think of.
Where would it go though in that game?
Probably like just one of the stages, the fighting stages, but it's like an intense one. I feel like, yeah, but it sounds very shmup esque. So I wouldn't surprise if it was like a shmup, like something like that, like maybe Battle
Okay.
Greg
Well, we
or
don't
something
know.
like that.
We're guessing. So
Yeah,
virtual on.
let's do virtual on.
Okay, virtual on. Final answer, right?
Final answer. Go ahead.
Okay.
Wah, wah, wah.
You like that? The Shenmue
I like
sound
your
effect?
little. Yeah.
Okay, so before I play it, it's this.
I knew it was shmup esque.
Blastwind.
It's Blastwind.
Blastwind. Wow. Okay.
Blastwind.
I knew
Man,
it
that's-
sounded shmup esque. It sounded shmup. I knew it was like it
Some
had
of
to be
these
virtual
shmups
on or
have
a
like
shmup.
really
Yeah.
underrated soundtrack then because like that's not one. Yeah, that's not one that I think most people think of when they think of shmups on the
Blastwind is
Saturn.
sick,
But
though.
Blastwind is actually really, really awesome.
It's a great soundtrack. And it's technically Sega now, I believe. Because
Oh,
it's
right,
Technosoft,
okay.
so it's technically Sega.
Right. So that's come into the
Right.
fold. Yeah. So
They can
definitely got to
re-release
check
it.
out that soundtrack. That's
They
awesome.
did though. Didn't they do that with the cotton tribute? No, that was Guardian Force. That
was Guardian Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they will.
Okay. Yeah.
S tribute now.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Struck out.
So no points here. 2 rounds left. We need 2 points. Let's see. Question 9 is the last question.
All right.
Okay. I could just ask how you can unlock or what car you can unlock in Sega Rally Championship for the Saturn, but I thought that would be a very easy question. So the question reads, there's an unlockable Lancia Stratos HF in Sega Rally Championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This wasn't the first time it was playable in a Sega game. What was its
Okay.
first Sega game appearance?
Interesting.
Lancia Stratos.
Yes.
The Lancia Stratos. Lancia.
What about
let's see.
what's the one game that had Sonic in it? Remember the first appearance of Sonic
Radmobile?
as a Saturn game?
Oh, you're talking about Radmobile?
Radmobile, yeah.
Yeah,
but would it have been?
that's the only thing I can think of that might have it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Nick I think Nick didn't mention that in the documentary for the Stratos.
Oh, did he mention that?
I think he mentioned that it was playable before, or they wanted to get it
Yeah.
in before. I can't remember though, but like the only thing I can think is that the one first appearance of Sonic. It might be the car you're driving.
Is
in that
this?
one.
But this is. But you said this could be any Sega game, right? It's not
It's
just
a
related to Saturn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So probably
Sega game.
think back a few years.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be maybe pre-Radmobile, and it might even be it might even be
I'm
like
trying to think Sega games that have erasers. The only thing I can think of is like is that one is I mean, it's definitely not the Ferrari from the other one. Definitely
From
not that
Outrun?
one. Yeah, definitely not that one Ferrari.
You know what? Let's
It's
go with
not.
Outrun.
You
Could
go
it
with
have been
Outrun?
unlockable in Outrun? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I'm going to say that straight up. I'd be
Yeah.
guessing anything I say. So, and I think Radmobile. I mean, that's definitely the first appearance of Sonic.
Mhm.
But
I don't know if it's the
on the Saturn,
Stratos
on the
though.
Saturn,
But it was the
yeah,
first unlock. You can unlock it though, right? Is the thing
you could
in the
unlock
Saturn
it.
in this on the Sega game, or
Yeah.
does it
I'm
just
just thinking
appear in
of
the
So
game?
it's
what
playable. It's
Sega games were
playable. It
racing.
was playable in another game before Sega Rally.
Playable in another game before Sega Rally, and it was
Yeah.
a Sega game.
Another
And I
another
mean,
Sega game. Yes.
another Sega game. And how many Sega racers are there out there? I mean, it wasn't in Daytona. I would know about it.
Not Daytona would be.
It wasn't in any. It wasn't in any other. It wasn't in any other Saturn games that I know of. So I'm thinking about like Genesis, or I'm thinking like arcade, and I'm just thinking. My mind is going to
Could be
like
something on
Outrun.
Master System that's like obscure.
Yeah, but even now, Master System has Outrun. I don't know. What do you want to guess, Pat? My guess
The
is
only thing
Outrun.
I think it was probably Outrun, but I think it's Ferrari. But I don't know if you can if there's different cars you could play in Outrun because I never like completed that game.
I'm just saying like this is an unlockable. We're talking, so it's like the
no,
Outrun
it's not unlockable. Just say
Ferrari.
playable.
Oh, did you say playable or
I said
unlockable?
playable.
Yeah, you said it's playable.
So it's unlockable in Sega Rally.
But
I
it's
said
playable in another game.
it could be unlockable. It could just like be a main.
It could just
main
be
car.
playable. Yeah. The fact is, I don't know the answer. and
This
and
is
the Sega
hard.
guys are probably screaming at the screen now. They're like, Dave, come on. Sega card.
I don't know.
Think
Maybe
about those
they're
other
big
Sega Racer
Sega
game?
Rally fans, so maybe they do know this bit of trivia. I didn't know this before.
With Sega Touring
Yeah,
Car?
no,
This.
What about Sega Touring Car?
Sega Touring, but that was 96. That was after Sega Rally.
After it's before that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said go back a couple years.
Probably
Kind of gave us
that would
extra
be
information.
a good idea, I
Go
think.
back.
Yes.
That's why I was thinking
Because I
Outrun,
said this wasn't the first time it was playable in a Sega game. So if it wasn't the first time, probably before.
How many?
Did
How many
Virtua Racer
Sega
have different
games?
cars? Did Virtua Racer have different cars, or was it just the?
Oh,
wait, would Virtua Racer? That could be it because I remember Nick mentioned there's some cars you can unlock.
But I don't know of a Stratus being in Virtua Racer. That's the thing. I know of no.
That's the only thing I'm thinking is maybe Virtua Racer you can unlock the Stratos, but there's like different. That's the only one I could think of that would be a racer a couple years back. Because I know it's Ferrari and Outrun.
And you're talking about the arcade version, obviously. You're talking about the arcade version of Virtua Racer.
Yeah, or the other one. I think there's unlockable cars in the one that they made for the Saturn.
Like there are, but not a Stratos. There are, but not a Stratos. I know that.
Not a Stratos?
So,
okay,
yeah.
So I need an answer, guys.
Yeah, I'm going to go with... I'm gonna say Outrun.
Yeah, I'll go Outrun too.
Outrun 2.
Outrun. Yeah, exactly. I thought of saying that, but it would be too confusing. Okay. Nope.
Rip.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
What was it?
It was Safari Race for the SG-1000.
Like
Safari Race for the
SG-1000. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
I
Look
knew
at
it was
this
something
game.
like that where it's like something on probably the Master System or something like that. Because I said like, oh, maybe like Master System Sega, something that I would not think of.
That's cool. Safari Race. You know what? Nick probably knew that though. He probably did because he did an amazing video about like the whole Safari Race and everything like that. So. I'm sure that's something that he came across, but
this is it. This is it.
This is it.
That's
Look
it.
at that.
What amazing for the
Incredible.
time, I think. Yeah, like all these animals running around and stuff. That's amazing. Okay, so that
How
leads
does that
us.
compare to like the Specky? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Right?
it's this is much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
That leads us to our final question, which is another back of the box. Okay.
Are there points?
So, we need 2 points. You guys need 2 points.
Okay. Okay. All right.
You got 8.
Okay.
So this is it. Pay attention. This is a very interesting back of the box because it's nothing but like bullet points, literally. So it says,
Okay.
it says, 4 exciting modes of play: classic, head-to-head, puzzle, and edit. Never-ending challenges. Master 80 mind-blowing puzzles. Discover 20 bonus stages. Design your own puzzle in edit mode. And that's it. That's all there is to this back of the box description.
Design your own puzzle. The edit mode is like, okay, what puzzle game?
They're released in the United
Had
States too.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
This is the US
Released-
back of the box, remember.
US. Oh right, US back of the box puzzle game that had an edit mode. I mean, when I think about puzzle games on Saturn, I think of like Baku Baku Animal.
That's the one. That's the one. Baku
That's
Baku
the
Animal.
one.
Yes.
Right, yeah. But I'm not familiar with an edit mode and why that would even matter.
Let me give you a little hint here, because I think that I found this interesting. This is the same. This is basically the same description we got in Europe,
Okay.
and it really, we didn't need anything else, to be honest. So I don't want to give too much away, but it's
Yeah,
like
no, I
there's
feel
no
you.
description. Like there's no, oh, this is what you need to do. Maybe there's a story somewhere in there, but we don't need to know about this because it's just
It's definitely a puzzle you edit, so it's like something. It's not like a puzzle bobble or like a puzzle fighter is what I can think of.
The first thing that, so could you read it again? Because it was
I
like
can.
4 different play modes.
4
Head to-
exciting modes of play:
Exciting.
classic, head-to-head, puzzle, and edit.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
Stop. Classic. So, I mean, for there to be a classic mode, it suggests that this is something that's classic. So, and then classic, head to head. What was
Puzzle.
the third one? Party.
Puzzle.
Puzzle mode and edit.
And
Oh,
edit.
and edit. Okay, so puzzle is just a mode, and editing and being able to edit your own puzzle. But there's a classic mode. The first thing I was thinking is Grid Runner because it has like these grids, and no, but it's not that. And that has a head-to-head mode. Classic.
So if it has a classic mode, it means people
there's
would come into
is
the game with
Tetris.
certain expectations, right?
Right. Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, there's Tetris got a US release where it was a version of Tetris. But I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember an edit mode. I certainly never played it. Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo has head-to-head, but that's not, I don't know that would have a classic mode.
There's no like a puzzle mode for that.
Help me
Classic
out, Pat.
Head to head. I'm just thinking like the only ones I can think is like Puzzle Fighter, Tetris. I don't think it couldn't be Tetris. I don't think there's like a puzzle aspect to that.
Well, I mean, it is a puzzle game technically, but
It is, but it's not like a puzzle you can solve consistently.
no, yeah,
I
you're
figured
right.
it'd be-
You're right.
I'm trying to think of a classic
So
puzzle.
I'm
Something
gonna
like
I'm gonna
Tetris.
help you out here. Let's
This
organize our ideas here. So think about everything you just said up until now, and remember what I told you before. So it wouldn't need like a big description of what the game is. They
We
would
need a
just
big
like use
description.
bullet points to say, oh, there's this, and that, and that's it, because everything else people would know.
Oh,
There's a classic mode, so that means that people are familiar with this.
it's a classic game. Yeah.
Okay. And so what would fall into that category of out of everything that you said so far?
The only thing I think would to be something that everyone played, like Tetris. That's the only thing I can think of, but I don't know what you would edit in Tetris. Is the thing.
Don't overthink
Right.
it.
I'm not trying to overthink it. Well, so there, you've got like Tempest, right? That was on there, Tempest 2000, but that's okay. Games where you can go head to head.
Mhm.
That's Tetris. There's one of those.
Could you go head to head or design? Like when they say puzzle or edit, we're really just talking about like the setup, because it could be like Puzzle Bobble if it's just talking about like the setup of how you start, you know.
It could be
But
bust
the
a
same,
move. That's not. That's a
the
good point
same,
because you can actually edit bust a move. So
can you?
it could be a. You can go ahead and bust a move. I think there's a way you
You
could
can
probably
go
start.
head to head.
Bust a move. I know there's certain games that you could go head bust a move. So it could
Yeah,
be
but I
bust a
can't.
move again, and that's
Yeah,
bust a
or
move is
it
a
could,
pretty popular game.
or it could be Tetris.
It's like that's
I'm just
between
thinking,
the only one that's static though you could edit would be bust a move because you have the different puzzle versions of it you can edit. There's a puzzle where you like solve out of it and you go head to head and fight somebody and bust a move.
I can't see
So
all of my games from here. And what's really frustrating is I feel like this is going to be so obvious once you say it.
yeah,
What
like I
else
said,
is like
my guess is
super
bust a
common?
move again. That's the only one I can think of. I think that's only
You want to
bust a
go?
move on the Saturn, right, Dave?
Well, there's
It's
Bust a Move
bust a move
2
again.
and there's Bust a Move 3, and they both got US releases.
If I had to guess,
So,
probably
and then,
bust a move 3.
So out of all of the answers the possible answers that you're thinking of, which one would just, you would look at the box and, okay, I don't need anything else other than like a bullet point list of the game modes? Because there's
the game mode,
literally nothing else. It's everything that I read is
bullet point list of the game
the
modes.
description of the box, or of the
Honestly,
box.
I kind of almost want to go with Tetris Attack. I think that's what it is. It's Tetris. I mean, I think that's what that's called. It's Tetris Attack, if I remember. And you got this little guy who like walks on the pieces and gets smashed. I mean, because Tetris is like, what's more ubiquitous than Tetris, right?
Yeah, I think
But
I think it probably is a Tetris thing, and we're just getting tripped up on it. So probably
but
Tetris
then
Attack is the one we
if you're
probably think
feeling
of.
Bust a Move 3, what do you think? Bust a Move 3 or Tetris Attack?
I think Tetris Attack would be more bullet points that'd be recognizable. Bust a Move is famous, but I think that people would recognize Tetris more than Bust a Move.
Could you go head to head though? I can't even remember if you could. And we know you can go ahead. But what's classic mode? That's the other thing. It's like, what's classic mode?
And it's a puzzle game,
Okay.
so it's like
We don't know. Tetris Attack, I guess.
yeah, we'll go Tetris Attack.
Yeah.
Final
oh, man.
answer.
I got it because we can't keep you waiting.
Let me save you
anymore.
some time
Attack.
and say, yes, that's your final answer. Yes. Yes, it's your
yes.
final answer.
Yes.
It's
yes.
actually
sweet,
called
what's Tetris
it's
Attack?
actually called Tetris Plus. But
Oh, Tetris
I
Plus.
understand.
Tetris.
I understand. It is. This is puzzle mode, by the way. You have to get the guy to the goal, like the little explorer or whatever he is, by clearing
Oh, okay.
lines, right? And so
Okay, I've
he's
never played this one before.
ever closer to his death, to his demise, and you have to clear lines and help him get to the goal.
So what's the
Yeah.
edit mode then?
I have no idea. I
Yeah,
can
neither
try to
do
find
I.
it. I can try to find it.
Ironically, I own a long box copy of this, and I've never played beyond like classic mode.
Classic mode
So
is probably just endless mode, right? You're just clearing lines
Yeah, you're
until
just clearing lines.
you lose,
Yeah.
right? Head to head versus mode. Edit mode. Oh wait, there's
Play your game,
Oh, you
people.
just creating your own puzzles where the little guy
That's how
is
you
up
find out.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
We dodged a bullet there, Pat.
So very good. I was
close.
trying to
Yeah, I was
help.
close.
I usually don't
You were
help
trying to-
this much.
I'm going to be honest with you. It still doesn't sound like Tetris.
But it doesn't
It
need
just
to,
sounds-
because that's what
it
I was.
doesn't need to.
When
Yeah.
I was looking at this, I thought this is very, very very simplistic. Even this is very bare bones. People need to know what this game is about. No, they don't. They know Tetris. Everyone knows Tetris. So just
Right.
4 exciting modes of play. That's it.
kind of why I switched over, because I was
Right.
like, Bust a Move is pretty famous, but it's not as famous as Tetris.
Exactly. And they
Right,
usually
right.
have like a little story. They have names. The little dinosaurs have names, and they're usually doing something. So yeah. But anyway,
I just played the
10
most
points.
arcade
Well
versions
done.
of it, so
Wow. Okay.
Well
we did
done.
it somehow.
So that means you
Thanks.
get the SEGA Lounge seal of approval. Well done.
yay!
Very good. Very good. Look at that guy, the
Nice.
little guy clapping.
I like it.
We got the seal of approval. The
Well done.
seal.
The
That's
seal of approval.
I need to get a hat with that
Very
on
nice.
it.
That can be arranged.
Ooh,
Anyway,
get with-
it can.
Yeah,
It
that'd
can.
be
We'll
awesome.
talk. But I don't want to keep you guys too long because it's late for you guys. We definitely need to do this again, maybe with a shorter challenge. But I wanted to just briefly mention something. So I already said it was the 30th anniversary of the Saturn, like a few days ago.
Right.
So I just have a very simple question for you guys. What does the Saturn mean to you in 2025? And this can be a joint answer or an individual answer. It's up to you guys. And what does it mean to you? Why is it so important to you still? Philosophical
Potential.
questions now. Oh,
Just I feel like it always had potential, and a lot of it remains untapped. But there's an entire community that's excited about exploring that potential. I think, kind of know. There's this feeling like you kind of know everything there is to know about the PlayStation. It's very well charted territory. But for a lot of folks, the Saturn still has that mystique. It still remains largely uncharted territory, and so I think that even from a programming standpoint, you've got folks who are pushing the boundaries of what the machine can do in homebrew and stuff like that. We've seen Unreal, like basically Unreal, not really ported, but built from the ground up for Saturn. And we've seen a lot of other really impressive stuff done, and it all speaks to the potential. It's got limitations for sure, and those limitations breed creativity, because you kind of have to come up against those hard limitations and you find artistic ways to move around them.
yeah.
But yeah, that's for me, and community, as a result, because a lot of people are just finding out about it now. What do you think, Pat?
I would say the future.
The future.
I like
Saturn
that.
is our
The things that-
future.
The thing is that a lot of people, like I said, it ties more into what Dave says, but there's like so much stuff that really has been untapped with the Saturn, the online play of it, like to get that better. The fan translations, the homebrew of the games. Like while we got a lot really far, I think we're just hitting the beginnings of what can be done with the Saturn and how far we could take it, because it's going to take in more and more fan translations are being found out about and released. Like there's a good chance there could be a fan translation that like is fan translated on Saturn that will motivate people to like ignite these games, this game series. So I think that's why I think it's the future. There's so much potential there, like they said. It's the potential in the future, and we're just hitting the precipice of what we can achieve on Saturn. So that's why I think
Future.
it really
future
is
potential.
the future. Like, we're not even anywhere close to where the Dreamcast is right now. So
Yeah.
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 It's true. Yeah.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
Dreamcast was like easy to make stuff for.
Mhm.
Saturn, not so much, but at new Saturn Ring library just put out, so that's again, the community shouts to Ray, and shouts to Roberto Duarte, those other guys. I forget who else
everyone on
is
the
involved in
30th
that.
anniversary competition for the Sega Saturn, Sega Extreme 30th anniversary competition that should be, by the time this comes out, the results should be up for that.
Mhm.
Cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so we got new tools and
Yeah.
new things to excite folks about the Saturn. So
I actually, something that you, Pat, said is interesting. I wasn't really thinking about it that way, but it makes sense. If more people get to know games that we never got here through English translations, patches, whatever, that might ignite like a whole level of different support for the games, and maybe even companies can see that and bring those games over in like a remastered way or whatever it is, or port them to current gen systems. So it's even in the interest of companies that communities like these exist, right? So
Absolutely.
Exactly. If it was communities like these, would have never gotten. Probably that's the Sega Tribute Collection stuff like that. We probably would have never gotten, a push for Cotton, because like before we started, Cotton was like kind of dead. Like
yeah,
it really nothing. And now it's like
Right.
a thriving series again. Like
Mhm.
there's new games coming around the corner. There's all the games are now playable on a modern system now.
yeah,
Like you could pretty much play all of them from 1 till like Rainbow Cotton to Panorama Cotton.
Mhm.
I think the one you really have maybe some of the Game Boy one. Maybe there was a Game Boy one or something, but like all of them for the most part in the mainline series you could play, even Rainbow Cotton, which is still fantastic. And I want to give a props
yeah.
to everyone that worked on that.
Andreas
Andreas
Scholl.
Scholl.
Yeah,
Scholl,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in
Yeah, he's
games
really
as well
cool.
for publishing these games.
Yeah. Yes, and thank
you
you,
know,
Andreas. I love Andreas. He's a really cool dude. We did an interview with
Sure.
him a while back for SHIRO
yeah,
when we were at Gamescom. So very thank you, Andreas Scholl, for that, and thank you for making Rainbow Cotton a reality.
Yeah, he came on the show as well. I think last year, a couple of years ago, and his company is Kritzelkratz Treitazen or something like.
Kritzcraft.
It's probably it's the I think it's how you pronounce it in German. I'm always angry when I
Kritzcraft.
speak German.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah.
Kannst du durchsprechen?
I have.
Ich habe es gelernt.
Yeah. I can speak Portuguese if you want to, but no, I have no idea what you're saying.
have you had
I should have
Bo?
learned
Have you had
Portuguese.
Bo?
My Portuguese side of my family is very upset with me. I didn't learn it. But
So
Have
you
you
were
had Bo
saying
Bales on?
I haven't.
From the Green Hill Zone podcast, yeah, because he's been doing a lot of cool reverse engineering and hacking.
Yeah,
of Saturn
that's
games
true.
too.
I have it
Find,
on
like,
my
all of these
list of
your radar,
potential
yeah.
guests. Yeah.
He'll be a great one to get on for sure.
Yeah, like unlocking a lot of cool stuff, like cheats and stuff from Saturn games.
Oh yeah, and I mean potentially new mode, like play modes, like co-op mode and Burning Rangers, never released. Just maybe wasn't ready for prime time, but it's there. You can play with 2 people on screen, so it's crazy. But yeah.
And that's why I think, again, going back to what we were talking about before at the probably closer to the beginning of the episode, that's why communities like SHIRO are important, and places, not just the community, but people like you guys who put this together and give it the kickstart it needs to get going. It's important because people can group there and know about these different projects, get together, work on them together. That's great. So,
and hopefully communicate a clear message to Sega that we're interested very much, like with our wallets.
Saturn.
Yeah.
We're interested in more Sega. We're interested in more franchises coming back. I'm really excited about the initiative that they're putting out. I'm hoping that it leads to just a cascade of Sega, awesome Sega IPs that come back. But because I love Persona, don't get me wrong, and I'm a fan of Yakuza. Yeah, but I want some of that sweet Golden Axe and some of that awesome Jet Grind or Jet Set radio.
Maybe new Knights would be cool. Maybe get some, maybe a couple stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think so. I think Knights is an easy win for Sega. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's part of their plan. Yeah. That's the issue, right? And I'm a little bit concerned with the Jet Set Radio side of things and Crazy Taxi side of things, because we've heard rumors that's going to be like a live service game or something, and I'm not sure that's the way to go. I'm sure it's not the way to go.
Not the way to go.
But hopefully they get it on track again, or it's just a rumor. It's not true. Shinobi,
it's like they're caught between trying to please. They got to please the old guys. They also got to please the younger generation too, and that's tough. It's like ultimately you might not be able to please everybody at the same time, but you do the best you can to kind of come up with something. And I'm really hoping. I will say that I wish them the best. I hope that it works.
For sure.
I've talked to a lot of people who think that it might work. The Crazy Taxi thing, being online and everything, will work out. And
that I'm
we'll
not
see.
that concerned about. That I think is the only way to go, perhaps, or have at least an online mode being the main focus, because it's 2025 and maybe an arcade racer is not for everyone. For most people, apart from us old folks. I still love Crazy Taxi.
Yourself, buddy.
Yeah.
But
That's
having
fair.
having a community aspect to it and making it interactive with multiple players is obviously going to add something to it. Which was your primary concern? Which one
Jet Set
were you?
Radio.
It was
Jet Set Radio. Yeah, it
After
could
Bomb
work.
Rush Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Right?
So
yeah,
that's what I wanted. I wanted Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, but like with blue skies. So,
right, exactly.
Like
Bomb
more
Rush
colorful with the Sega
paint job.
Exactly.
Which it kind of, it almost did, but just not. It's like it was. They probably would get sued if they went too far.
Yeah, for sure.
To be fair though, I actually was kind of disappointed with the soundtrack for that game too. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. I was expecting a better soundtrack. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be, which kind of disappointed me a bit.
Really?
I liked it. I actually liked it. Yeah,
I like my kids like it. They love all the songs.
It's a modern approach, to what Jet Set Radio was, I think.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I was just expecting it'd be more like that '90s to early 2000s vibe of music, but maybe, I don't know, maybe just me. But
no, you're right.
I get that. I get that. Yeah.
Maybe they'll do better with Jet Set. We'll see.
Hopefully, but gameplay wise, that's what I wanted from a new Jet Set Radio game. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Shinobi, however, I'm very pleased with what we seem to be getting out of this, and the studio is the right fit. It seems great guys as well, Sega fans as well. So
the Street Rage 4 guys, right?
Yeah, and the Wonder Boy, the Dragon's Trap guys.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
excited. Shinobi looks sick.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that one game, the Slave Zero X that came out. Kind of reminds me of that sort of style, which I always love that 2DS style. So give me more of
the
those
art
games,
style is perfect.
Yeah.
That's all I can ask is that they just channel the original. It's got to be modern, obviously, but you got to channel that vibe, that feeling, and it seems to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys. So, not wanting to keep you too longer here. Where can people find SEGA Saturn and SHIRO? Everywhere. That's the answer.
You can find us
where?
Pretty much everywhere. We have a website, SEGA We're on Twitter.
That'll take you out to all of the other. Yeah. It's right on our website. There's all the socials. Yeah, so I would just say SEGA That's where you're going to find all the news, reviews, stories. You'll find a link to our podcast, merch, magazine. We've got a few left. They're from 2022, but folks can pick those up. YouTube. You can join our Discord from there. There's the Sega guys, of course, who are brothers of SHIRO, and also Pandemonium reviews every US Sega Saturn game. And then we've got a whole list of friends as well on there.
We have so many stuff. It's amazing.
That's it. That's where you should go, and then just kind of explore. Definitely check out the resources tab. That's one of my favorites on the website because there's so much good stuff. You can get your Saturn online. You can look at the translations. You can look at all the archived Wayback sites that are related to Saturn, thanks to Saturn Memories. You can see every reference of Saturn in TV and film, thanks to Death Scythe, and just so much more.
You can also see our site in HTML 1.0, so you can look at it on the Saturn or Dreamcast too.
This is true. You can browse the website on your netlink on your Saturn. It's actually pretty snappy too, and that's thanks to Ray, who runs it's
that netlink site link right on the resources. Click on that one; it'll go directly to our
click
site
on netlink HTML. That first one. There you go.
There we go.
That's browsable. You can, and you even has a search too. So if you have your Saturn online, and there's a guide there that can get your Saturn online in the resources there. So fully browsable.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. I believe the Dreamcast Junkyard has that going on too.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe with the Dreamcast, yes. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. So guys, we really need to do this again because there was a lot to talk about, and I really want to do this again. Yeah. So let's do it soon. But I do appreciate you guys taking the time to come on the SEGA Lounge. And
absolutely.
I think what we need to do as well is we need to get you back with another element, with a third element, and pit you against maybe the Sega guys with another element as well. In a SEGA Lounge challenge special.
Okay, I would do that for fun, but they will absolutely launch me.
Or maybe someone else. Maybe you pit you against the Dreamcast Junkyard. That would be interesting.
I'd be good with either one. Put us up against the Dreamcast guys. See if we can beat them at their own Dreamcast game.
Yeah, with questions about the Saturn and the Dreamcast. With questions that are nothing about the Saturn and the Dreamcast. Just say SG-1000, Master System, stuff like that. God. Let's see who wins.
Well, you brought on Mel, Sega Lord X. He would probably pretty much own at that too.
Okay. See?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you guys can invite him as a third wheel or the Sega
Have you had him on yet?
I haven't.
Oh yeah. We got to get him on the show.
Okay.
I'll reach out to him and tell him you said something.
Awesome. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So guys, thank you again for coming. It's been a pleasure. All the best for SEGA Saturn SHIRO. And let's keep in touch, right? And let's do this more often because you guys were great guests. Really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. That was a fun game.
SHIRO.
Yes. SEGA Saturn SHIRO.
And for everyone watching,
we're cutting your legs off.
Yes, and for everyone watching / listening, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the SEGA Lounge. I almost forgot to say goodbye. That's how professional I am after doing this for how many years now. But thank you very much for watching. Go check out the guys over at SegaSaturnShiro.com. And we'll be back next week with, actually, if all goes well, with one of those like special challenge episodes pitting two SEGA communities against each other. Because as I said before, I prefer violence. So until then, have a great week.
The answer in the house of SEGA Saturn.
And
you must play SEGA Saturn.
You must.
You must.
You must.
You must.